Suspicions mount when a newborn baby is found unresponsive.
He was full of, I don't know, it was brown. He was very junky. There was brown liquid coming out of his mouth.
But were detectives looking at an accident or something far more calculating?
Something happened, we know that. So I know you know just because of the fact you're the only one that does.
This is Inside the Crime, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. Now, this is one of those cases that drew mixed reaction. Some believing the suspect did it, others not too sure. In the end, though, a jury had to determine the truth. It's November 8th, 2021. We're in Sarasota, Florida. It's late into the night when a woman runs out of her home carrying her newborn child in her arms. The woman was panicked. Her baby was unresponsive. She rushed him to a neighbor's home who reportedly worked as a nurse. Then the calls were made to 911. When paramedics arrived, 14-week-old baby Dominic was still unresponsive. EMTs performed life-saving measures, but little Dominic had to be rushed to the hospital. He was placed on life support as doctors said there was little hope. The newborn reportedly showed signs of head trauma. There was no brain activity. Days later, he was taken off life support and was pronounced dead. On the day Dominic had to be rushed to the hospital, his dad was away from the home. The only ones in the house were Dominic's 2-year-old brother and their mom, Lily Scheip. It's November 19th of 2021, more than a week after baby Dominic's death. Lily's in an interrogation room as detectives needed to figure out what happened in the hours leading up to the 911 call.
I don't know how much your attorney has explained to you already, but this is an interview that is basically just a statement. So all we're asking of you is just to go through your day, and we'll get into that stuff, but it's not going to be, anything related to a crime, okay? So we are investigating the death of your child, and with that becomes statements. We have to talk to a lot of different people, and you are one of them. So again, thank you so much for coming in and taking the time to talk to us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We started dinner. Pete had a recipe for chicken, and so we made some chicken, had dinner. Dominic, I believe, was back in his pack and play. I made dinner for Lucas, which he's a very picky eater. He had chicken nuggets, and I think I tried to push the Brussels sprouts. But
Oh man!
No, that's going to be a little while longer.
I know. I always put something green on his plate, and
Good effort.
He always turns it down. So, and I don't think he even wanted his chicken nuggets that night. So, but that's not unusual for him. It's hit or miss, really. So, we had dinner together. Pete left for band practice. He took Lucas outside to swing before we sat down and ate. So just after we had dinner, he was taking off for band practice between 7:15. Dominic seemed like he was getting a little hungry again. He was growing so fast. He was going between 5 and 7 ounces, and so I made him a couple more ounces, gave him a snack, held him for a little while, put him back in his pack and play. I think he was on the boppy pillow next to his napper, kind of sitting up and watching Lucas. Lucas had a little more TV. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You're doing a great job.
Did I give him a bath? No. I don't think so. He had more TV. I put him down in his bassinet in the room, with the door open. I went back to Lucas, changed his diaper, put him in his pajamas, put on his relaxing fishes again. He seems to only rest if I sit with him. So I was sitting on the couch with him probably 20 minutes. It was just before 9:30. I went back in the room to see if Dominic had fallen asleep. Sometimes he will just lay there. There was a box on his bassinet that he likes to just kind of look at. But when I went back, he wasn't breathing. His lips were blue. I picked him up out of the bassinet. I don't have much light in my room, went into the kids' room directly across the hall, put him on his changing table, immediately noticed he's unresponsive. I could not find my cell phone in a hurry. I knew I would need an ambulance. I'm a nurse. I would have immediately called 911 on speakerphone and initiated CPR. I panicked, ran to my neighbor's house, right next to my house. Her husband drives an ambulance for pediatrics. She said, go to my mother-in-law's house, directly across the street. We laid Dominic down in the garage, initiated CPR. I do remember giving him the breaths, and he was full of, I don't know, it was brown. He was very junky. There was brown liquid coming out of his mouth. I believe that it's a matter of shock and trauma that I can't recollect him being taken by the ambulance, but I know that that is what happened up until that point. When I came back from Tampa General, I noticed on his bassinet sheet where his head was a brown stain, similar to,
Similar to what you described earlier, the purge or whatever that you said you saw earlier from him?
And it
Okay.
made me wonder, did he vomit when he was laying down?
Detectives were exploring all options, struggling to understand how a seemingly healthy newborn boy could have died so unexpectedly. Investigators soon learned the baby had experienced a series of injuries weeks before, including broken bones.
It seems fair to say that Lucas was not an aggressive boy by any means.
Not at all.
Maybe a little attention deficit, but not really an aggressive boy.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Sweetheart.
So I understand about after 3 weeks, when Dominic was 3 weeks old, something happened with his leg. Can you describe what happened to us?
Sure. I had just fed Dominic. I was we have a rocker, recliner, lazy boy chair in our living room next to Lucas's little kid table. I was burping Dominic. I had him sitting up on this knee, and I had one hand patting his back and the other hand on his chest. On this side of the chair is the lever to recline it. Lucas liked to mess around. He would stand up on it and kind of jump on it.
He was a
little
boy.
bit. Yeah.
Big brother.
Yeah, when this happened, he was standing on the lever, and he put his foot back to try to balance on the chair of the kids' table, and that started to lean back. He lost his balance, and he reached out and grabbed this hand that I had on Dominic's chest. And I couldn't get it back from him in time to stop Dominic from falling. Dominic fell, and his right leg was tucked behind him. I didn't initially think that he was seriously injured at all. But I took him to the changing table, and it was clear that one leg he was moving and the other leg was, I don't want to say floppy, but he wasn't able to move it, and when I touched it, he was crying, he was in pain. They did x-rays, told me that he had a fracture, and I rode with them in the ambulance to All Children's Hospital.
Okay.
We stayed for a few days.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
They didn't have to put in a cast or anything,
At
They
Doctor's
just-
Hospital ER, they did.
like a temporary
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, they did, and they had me hold it for, I don't know, a few
Just keep it
minutes while it
stationary.
hardened. Yeah, it was just a hard cast, which they took off at All Children's.
Just before we get far away from it, you had described up to it what had happened. What happened? I mean, he's here and you got pulled off, so Dominic would have fallen, I'm assuming, like between your legs, onto the
Right.
floor, or?
Did he
Yeah.
fall down onto the floor? Or did he fall into the chair and then the floor, or just straight down?
He did. He did
Like a back
tumble, and his head was on my foot. I remember that. And I had tried to stop him from falling, but he had Chanel's socks on, and I ended up just being able to grab the sock.
Just pulled the
Oh,
sock
so you
off.
grabbed
Yeah.
at and grabbed the sock. All you got was sock, is basically, so not his leg.
Right.
All right, because that's what I'm trying to get the mental picture.
I couldn't even.
So you had to pick him. Then you had to pick him up.
I
and take
picked him up immediately and took him to the changing table.
So the or the fracture, whatever, they're assuming happened because of his leg being like maybe tucked behind him in the fall
Exactly.
part, not a pulling
The
or.
way that he landed.
Got you. Okay.
Do you recall anything else happening to Dominic between that time and the most recent incident that caused his death? Anything that you can think of that would be cause for concern, that could have potentially injured him? Anything that you can think of?
No.
It's what, 8 or 9 week period?
Yeah.
Is that right? As far as the math? So, yeah, any kind of trauma, or anything with him. So he was healthy, wasn't.
He was totally normal on
Sickly.
Monday, I think being that he was normal on Monday, I don't know if there's any
We're just
indication
even
that the
all the
injury
way
happened
back.
before.
We're even going all the way back, though. If from the leg thing, if there was any kind of accident or anything that happened that you recall,
No.
Okay.
any oopsies or falls or.
Did they x-ray his head or do an MRI or anything of his head when he broke his leg?
Yes.
Yes?
So they do the full body, especially
Yeah.
they're so tiny.
Well, that'd be
Yes,
good
they
for
do.
comparison.
But nothing you remember, no trauma or anything else. He was happy, healthy.
One thing that I think is noteworthy is that CPR was done on the garage floor, on the concrete garage floor.
Okay.
I think that's noteworthy. If he aspirated and then was put on the garage floor for CPR, that could have caused the injury.
Is that what you recall? Is the floor, the garage floor?
I remember taking him into through their garage. I think it was the garage floor.
And I'll just say this, I'm under the understanding that it was in the master bedroom that
Oh.
CPR was
Oh, okay.
performed.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I'm
Master
under the
bedroom,
impression
Okay.
that,
Is
but
that-
you were in the garage at one point. However, it was moved to, and I'm under the impression CPR was not performed until the baby got into the bedroom.
Okay. And I don't recall. if
And
that
that's
was
totally okay.
carpeted
Yeah,
or-
absolutely.
or the
That's
recyc-
for us to figure out for sure.
Okay.
Do you recall at any point attempting CPR? I know you said that you're a nurse, so did you at any point attempt CPR prior to going outside and meeting with your neighbor?
No.
Okay.
No, I knew I would need an ambulance, and I didn't
Okay.
have my phone, and
Sure.
I just
natural panic. I
Yeah.
mean, no one's going to question that. I mean, that's...
Just ran.
Caring for 2 young children, including a newborn, Lily admitted to struggling with postpartum depression, but she insisted she was a devoted mom to her 2 boys and couldn't fathom anyone intentionally harming Dominic.
Do you have any concerns that Pete would have done something to Dominic that he
None
would be too
whatsoever.
embarrassed to tell you about?
No
or
way.
Okay.
Not
None
even if it's
whatsoever.
accidental. Like,
No.
oh, you know.
No.
No
Okay.
concerns whatsoever. Any family members, friends, anybody that you'd be like,
No.
this person's not good with kids or whatever. Okay. All right.
Lily was free to leave because she was there voluntarily. She wasn't detained, nor did she face any criminal charges at this point. But that didn't mean the case was over. By December 2nd, nearly a month after Dominic's tragic death, Lily returned to the same interview room with her attorney still by her side.
So, Lily, we've got some unexplained injuries to Dominic's head. And I know that originally, when you guys were in the hospital, they had told you Dominic had some head trauma. So you were kind of aware of that already.
Yes.
So we were able to look a little bit deeper into that. And I'd like to give you the opportunity to explain how Dominic got those injuries. And this is that opportunity for you to do that.
Okay. I don't have an explanation.
Okay.
What kind of injuries did you guys see? Like, I know that in the hospital they were notified about a skeletal or a skull fracture,
Yes.
Mhm.
not numerous injuries.
There
No.
are numerous injuries to the back of his head.
Oh my goodness. We were just aware of the one.
Yeah.
In the whole care and custody, you know, I mean, we've established, at least with speaking everyone, that, you know, you were the last one with Dominic. You know what I mean? That's, we all understand that.
Right.
In the limited time, you know, that Peter was there was no accidental drops or any, you know, inflicted damage, what have you. He left, as you even described it, the smiley, you know, happy face. He was fine.
That's, yeah,
Seemed
Peter
alright.
Peter left and he was smiley, happy. You described that. You know, everything seemed okay. And then there's kind of that interim from when, after Peter left to when you went to your neighbor's house. That's that time period that needs a little bit more explanation. And I'd really like to give you that opportunity now to, if there's anything that you can think of that you'd like to talk about, now would be the time to do so.
I understand that, but there was nothing out of the ordinary during that time.
Okay. And I want to be frank with you, Lily. I can understand all of the stress that you were going through. I can't even imagine for 2 seconds being in your shoes with the amount of stress. We talked to Peter's parents. We talked to your mom. Haven't been able to talk to your dad yet, but even Peter's parents straight up said that Peter is not as involved as they want him to be. So you're taking care of everything. You're taking care of 2 kids, 1 brand new baby, the loss of your sister, trying to incorporate work, and being a full-time mom. I can't imagine. And I want to express to you that I empathize with you, and I know my partner does, and everyone can empathize with you for everything that you were going through.
Thank you.
However, there are these unexplained injuries, and they need an explanation. Otherwise, the answers that we get will be strictly based on the evidence that we see. So we're going to draw those conclusions. And without an explanation, that's what we have.
I need an explanation as well.
I mean, there are injuries, and there's like a 2-hour gap of time, right? But
Or 3,
yeah,
Something.
2 to 4, we'll say,
Gap of time when?
Between when Peter left and when the paramedics were called.
7:30 to 9:30.
It was about 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, there's no other evidence, right? I'm sorry. I mean, that's it.
That's what we're saying. She's the only one that can
That's it.
answer.
She's the only one that can
Maybe
can
not,
answer
though.
to.
I mean, what if she can't? What if she can't? And
These injuries were inflicted.
The injuries were inflicted, and they were inflicted within that time period.
Lily had no explanation for Dominic's injuries, but something wasn't sitting right for the medical staff at the hospital either, and their findings would shift the entire direction of the case.
yeah, see, we don't know that, and you guys know we have been here. I have been
Absolutely.
readily cooperative.
Oh,
with you.
absolutely, no question. That's why
because we want these same answers. We don't have these answers, and if we did, Peter and Lily would have provided them. Their stories have been consistent all the while, and I mean, the one thing is that Lily said, I put him in pajamas, and I didn't. I actually swaddled him, and so we want to clarify that today. That's the only discrepancy that I've been aware of, being frank with you guys as counsel, even privileged and confidential information. So, I mean, I know your position, I know my position. There is a gap here that I'm not sure can be filled, because Lily does not have this information. She has no pattern, obviously, of inflicting injuries upon a child. There was no accident that occurred there that she is aware of, except for, the dog maybe, or the leg break, if this happened historically. We just...
Understood. We've ruled that out. So the injuries that happened happened that night. They happened within the time period that Dominic was in Lily's care. We've established that. We know that. For a fact.
Medically, that's what the doctors
For a fact.
determined.
And we're waiting on another injury that did happen prior at some point.
So
Or get more
beyond
definitive.
the femur fracture, we have additional injuries to the child that were unexplained from the time period of the fracture to the night of November 8th.
Like what? What additional injuries?
Head trauma.
Head trauma. The only other alternative is that you don't want to tell us what happened. And I can understand if something happened that you don't want to talk about. But we are here, and your son is dead. And there is a reason for it.
You're saying he had other head injuries that were older than that time frame?
To potentially show some kind of history, something.
Like I said before, when going over the CPR, I do believe it's a matter of so much shock and trauma that I had trouble remembering going to Sarasota Memorial with him, but I've racked my brain over and over, and I only recall what I've told you, that he was sleepy. I tried to feed him. I did swaddle him, but I can't recall anything that would have...
It would have been in the hours leading up to putting him down. We know that. So
Okay.
that's why we're looking at you for the answers. Because we know that that's the gap that we're dealing with.
I'm just finding this hard to believe it.
It's more the period of time after Peter left for band practice.
I understand that.
That's kind of the time in question.
I understand that.
Because we've determined, been talking with you and talking with Peter, nothing happened in that short period of time that he was home for dinner and before he left to explain any injuries. So, that's... And there's a potential that could have maybe been inflicted just prior to him getting home. But it's definitely in that window. You know what I'm saying? I mean...
His behavior, though, that Peter noticed when he was home, I think would have ruled out it happening prior.
That's what we think.
Unless
it
was substantially prior. Unless these were historical injuries or disorder or,
Yeah, and this wasn't the case. Like Sarah's explained to you, we can rule out, because I know you had certain concerns of maybe what could have caused his death. And
I think at one point you had said, CPR perhaps on the garage floor. CPR was not on the garage floor.
Mm-hmm.
CPR was conducted from when we talked to all the EMTs, the neighbors, everybody. It was conducted in a proper way. No, the baby was not dropped in any way that could have caused these injuries. This happened while the baby was in your care.
And we were worried
didn't
about...
aspirate.
Yep, no aspiration. That wasn't
no suffocation.
Yeah.
He didn't choke on the formula. That was not the reason why he died.
Those things have been ruled out.
So the last time that we had spoke, you said that the brown liquid, when you got back from Tampa General Hospital, was in the bassinet, on the sheets of the bassinet. Pictures were taken from the deputies that were in your house, and the brown liquid was not in the bassinet. It was on the pillowcase in the master bed. There's photo evidence of that.
I have his bassinet sheet and a blanket. That's how I realized he was swaddled.
But the brown liquid still, that's not the reason why he died. That was probably an after effect. But I'm not a doctor, so I can't say that. But I can say that was not the cause of the death. I think any mother can empathize with the situation that you were in. Not to say I'm not a mom, but I've got a coworker who sits right across from me that's got a young child, and she's got a second one on the way, and she's like, I can empathize with just losing your just straight up losing it. And then to top it off, your sister died. You're drinking.
A husband that's... and not judging him, he's working full time, and he's
trying to provide.
Not as attentive, even based on his own family, as he maybe could or should be. He's learning the father role, but that
and
puts
your
it on you.
2-year-old that his maybe got some developmental delays. He's not quite up to par with maybe some other 2-year-olds, and then a brand new baby to add to the equation.
During a time that you haven't even dealt with the loss of your sister. You weren't even really able to fully enjoy the birth of your new baby because you're in depression and grief over losing your sister.
And even your mom, she straight up was like, I think Lily was suffering from postpartum. And even you said that, I think I may have been. And I think that's a reasonable conclusion based off of everything. But if it was a matter of just losing it for 1 second, then that's what happened. But that's something that we don't know unless you tell us. We have to draw that conclusion based off of the evidence that's provided, the medical evidence that's provided.
If it is, a definite fact that something would have had to have happened in that time, and I can't bring myself to think of it. Is that something I'd have an opportunity to get help with? Like, if...
Well, that's looking way down the road, I think. But yeah, obviously, a big key to this will be getting you help.
If there's something that I'm...
Repressing, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. That's a question, I think, beyond where we're at today.
An autopsy report revealed baby Dominic not only had bruising on his head, there was evidence he had a previous skull fracture and brain bleed. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death as trauma due to blunt impacts to the head. and listed the manner of death as homicide. Lindsay Scheip wasn't arrested until March 15th of 2022, 4 months after Dominic's death, and she was charged with second-degree murder. She stayed behind bars until her trial in 2025. By the time her case was in front of a jury, she was facing a lesser charge of manslaughter. Since her charge was downgraded, that meant she was facing less than 20 years in prison, as opposed to life in prison. In August of 2025, a Sarasota jury found her guilty of manslaughter. Her attorney, Jason Millner, told ABC7 the verdict was based on the state's lack of evidence showing malicious intent. He told the outlet, quote, "There wasn't any indication that there was depraved intent, what the law describes as a heightened level of ill will or evil intent, because there was no element there, and what seemed to be described by the state was a negligent act that was still criminal at the same time." 4 months later, Lindsay Scheip was back in a Sarasota courtroom. Emotions ran high during sentencing. Lily's in-laws reportedly wanted her to have the max sentence, while Lily's parents were hoping a judge would go for less time.
Dominic's death has cast a permanent shadow over our family, and it has aged my parents before my eyes.
This sentencing will be one step in the process of healing. It will help us to feel safer and the maximum sentence is given.
And I can't imagine in my wildest imagination her hurting my grandson intentionally.
You know, the whole thing is kind of based on just speculation.
In the end, the judge issued a sentence of 10 years in prison, followed by 4 years of probation. Because Lily Scheip spent 4 years in jail before being sentenced, she reportedly only will have to serve 5 more years in prison. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Inside the Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner.